Okay, we were dealing with the M-array PSK modulation technique. So the M-array PSK modulation technique was given by this particular equation. Si of t is equal to root 2e by t cos of 2 pi fct plus 2 pi by m into I minus 1. So the principle behind the M-array PSK is you are having m number of symbols. M may be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You are having m number of symbols. For each symbol, you are assigning one waveform. How the waveforms are different? The waveforms are different with respect to the phase. So the first signal is going to carry a phase of 2 into 1 minus 1 by m into pi, that is 0. Second phase 2 pi by m. Third one to 4 pi by m, so on and so forth. So each signal would be differentiated by the phase of the signal. Okay, so how many basis functions you are having to represent the signal? We are having two basis functions which are written as phi1 of t and phi2 of t. Okay, so now express the equation number 18 in terms of cos of a plus, using cos of a plus b identity, to root of 2e by t cos 2 pi fct into cos 2 pi by m into I minus 1 minus sin 2 pi fct into sin of 2 pi by m into I minus 1. You might have expanded that and you write that in terms of basis functions. So once you expand the equation using the identity and then substituting the basis functions in the expanded equation, you are going to get the final expression of M-array PSK as per equation 21. Now using this, what we can say is the signal Si of t or the M-array PSK signal is expressed in terms of the basis functions or a linear combination of orthonormal basis functions. Once you are having this, you can represent the signal in the form of a vector or a point. How to represent this signal in the form of a vector? Extract the coefficients of the basis functions. So the coefficients have been extracted and has been written. So currently, let us choose m is equal to 8. So therefore, you are getting 8 points. If you join all points with the help of a curve, then the locus would be a circle. So this circle would look like this constellation is looking like a circular constellation, and by the geometry, by the virtue of the geometry, the constellation is symmetrical. So the advantage of the symmetrical constellation is visualized in terms of the probability of error. That means that for calculating the probability of error, the symmetry would be very much helpful. Oh, how exactly it is helpful? Just observe. You want to calculate a probability of error. You calculate the probability of error considering that signal 1 has been transmitted. That is the one probability of error. Again, you try to calculate the probability of error considering M2 has been transmitted. Then you try to calculate the probability of error of the system considering M3. So means you need to iterate the probability of error calculation for all the 8 messages. If the structure of the constellation is not symmetric, if the structure of the constellation is symmetric, then you calculate for one particular message. You calculate the probability of error for one particular message. Then for all other messages, the probability of error formula or expression would be identical. So that is the advantage of the circular constellation. Even square constellation is also symmetrical. Square constellation, as an example, is the QPSK. If you try to compute the probability of error for message 1, the same formula could be used for message 4, message 3 and message 2. That is the advantage of symmetrical constellation. Okay, this is constellation for QPSK. Now let us concentrate over here. So this is the case, and the vector vector format is also being shown. The coordinates has also been shown. Okay. So now let us try to let us revise the yesterday's class, wherein we have told some concepts related to probability of error. Remember again, here we are not going to derive the expression for the probability of error. Whatever the expressions which we have learned, we will arrange them to get the probability of error. So now to compute the probability of error, first and the foremost, we will assume which signal has been transmitted. So let us assume that the signal M1 has to be transmitted. Okay, transmission has been done, reception also has happened, and you have converted the received signal in the form of a point. Now remember, we are worrying with respect to the error probability. So okay, so then because of the noise, instead of falling in this particular sector, if the received signal, if it falls in the sector belonging to M2, then there would be an error in the decision. So also, instead of falling in this particular sector, if the received signal falls in the sector belonging to M8, message 8, then also there would be an error. That means that the received signal may fall in the adjacent sectors. See, you remember what you are doing, you are transmitting the message signal 1 or message 1. So because of the error, what are the possibilities? The signal may fall in the sector belonging to M2, or in the decision region belonging to M2, or it may fall in the decision region belonging to M8. That is what we are assigning a constraint. That means that by no chance, or in any chance, the point will never fall in the sectors belonging to M3, M4, M5, M6 and M7. If at all it wants to fall, it will fall either at M2 or M8 due to the noise. Actually, ideally, the received signal should fall here. That is not the discussion under this topic. Okay, what we are going to do is we need to find out the probability of error. So therefore, accidentally, the signal may fall in the sector M2 or it may fall in M8. Only these two sectors are the valid sectors we are supposed to consider. Okay, so that means that the signal to noise ratio is such that, or the effect of the noise is such that the received signal point will fall either in M2 region or in M8 region. So therefore, what the receiver may get confused, that the transmitted signal might be M2 or it might be M8. Only two things are possible. This is how you need to derive the probability of error for that particular message. Remember, we are not, again, I want to say, we are not deriving, we are using the expressions. So let me read out the concepts which has been written. Signal space diagram is circularly symmetric, which I have already told, and we let us transmit the message M1. Okay, and he is writing the caution. What is that caution? Caution note, that is the ratio E by N naught. This is nothing but the signal to noise ratio is large enough, or is sufficient enough. You can write it as sufficient enough to consider the nearest two message points, as that is one on either side of the M1, as potential candidates for being mistaken for M1 due to channel noise. Means that the receiver may wrongly decide that M2 has been transmitted or M8 has been transmitted. So we are considering only the two message points which are on either side of the message point M1. So these two message points are at equal distances from message 1. Means message M2 and message M8 are at equal Euclidean distance with respect to message point M1. That is why it has been written D12, the distance between message point 1 and message point 2, D18. distance between message point 1 and message point 8, it is calculated as 2 into root e sine pi by m. This is a simple geometry, you can calculate it. Okay, then how to calculate the probability of error? So the probability of error is calculated as follows. Probability of error is equal to probability of error under message signal M1 has been transmitted is equal to probability that the received signal may fall in the sector belonging to M2 plus the probability that the received signal is or may fall in the region belonging to M8, because the received signal, it can fall in this sector also, or it can fall in this sector. So there are two chances. Whenever you are having two chances, then automatic it may fall in any of the sector. So therefore this term plus would appear. So you are having this 1 by 2 is constant. Currently don't worry about this 1 by 2. How this 1 by 2 has appeared, there is a derivation. So let us not writing the derivation, we are going to exactly take out that expression. But very important thing is why we have written two terms. The two terms belongs to, or it corresponds to the error when the signal is falling in the region M2 and the signal which is falling or the point which is falling in the region M8. So both things should be considered. Okay, so that is why you are having a plus term. If at all, if you are not imposing this condition, in here you are supposed to have 7 number of terms. Okay, so to have a simplification, we are reducing the number of terms to 2. Means the signal may fall over here or it may fall over here. That is why the probability of error is an approximate one. So now if you simplify, D12 and D18 are same. On simplification, you are having the formula as error function complement of root of e by n naught into sine pi by m. So this is the formula. So here remember, only thing you need to understand is why this plus sign has been introduced and this formula. There is no derivation. In the exam, you are supposed to write this statement only. Sometimes the error function is written in terms of another function that is called as Q function. Okay, so what do you mean by the error function? This is very simple. In the probability of error expression, you are having exponential terms with integral. So to evaluate the integral of exponential terms, one textbook will use the error function. Some other textbook or some other scholars, they are going to use the Q function. So in both functions, they are going to evaluate the integrals. So you can stop the explanation up to equation 22. But some of the evaluators, they are not going to use error function. Instead, they are going to use the Q function. So therefore, the equivalent relationship between error function and Q function has been written, and the equation 22 has been modified to equation 23. So either you can use this or this. So in the exam, better to write both of the things. And also, before I forget, let me tell, we have derived the probability of error expression for BPSK and QPSK. There also, final expression was in terms of error function. So in the evaluator may expect that in terms of Q function. I have shown in the slide what is the equivalent relationship between error function and Q function. Use that and just modify the terms. Or while uploading the notes, I will just write the modified expression also. Okay. So the next topic is the power spectral density of M-array PSK. Why do we want to study? What is the aim of studying this power spectral density? Remember, we have not studied power spectral density of BPSK and QPSK. The very reason for showing this graph or showing this particular slide is the bandwidth utilization of the M-array PSK modulation technique. Okay, now just let us don't bother about this explanation equations. Just observe the three set of curves in this particular graph. So all these graphs corresponds to PSK modulation technique. Which modulation technique? PSK modulation technique. So the first graph is for m is equal to 2. M is equal to 2 means binary. So you can treat this graph is related to BPSK modulation technique. And what does the second graph where m is equal to 4, that is the graph related to QPSK. And what is this? This is related to 8 PSK or higher order PSK. So this is belongs to BPSK and QPSK. As and when the m value rises, means if you are working with higher order PSK, means binary and quadriphase keying, increase the number of symbols to 8. 8 can be increased to 16. 16 could be increased to 32. So then just observe what is going to happen. What is going to happen? The curves will reach 0 very early. Just observe, m is equal to 8 is reaching very early when compared to m is equal to 4 curve and m is equal to 2. So this length is called as the bandwidth, and this is, if you let us concentrate on m is equal to 8 curve, only on m is equal to 8 curve. So what is this curve called as? This curve is called as power spectral density, means how the signal frequency is being distributed. Okay, which signals, which frequency carries the higher power, or what is the range of frequencies. You can extract the bandwidth also from this particular curve. So if you are generating an m is equal to 8 PSK or 8 array PSK, just observe where is the first null, where exactly it goes to 0 at first. Okay, then m is equal to 4, where exactly it goes to 0 at first. M is equal to 0 goes to 0 at 0.5, and m is equal to 2 goes to 0 at 1. Okay, so by observation of this curve, the m is equal to 8 curve will approach us 0 earlier when compared to m is equal to 4 and m is equal to 2. What one can say that one can say that the m is equal to 8 or 8 array PSK is going to occupy a lesser bandwidth, okay, when compared to m is equal to 4 and m is equal to 2. So this information would be obtained by observing this particular curve. So if you increase the value of m, then what would be the bandwidth occupied by the signal? The bandwidth occupied by the higher order PSK is less when compared to others. By this, let me stop the discussion today. So let me stop the discussion.